Welcome back to another episode of the Voices of Value podcast. This is your host, Kyle Stutzer, aka CIZZY. We are in Overland Park, Kansas at Leo Moreno Jr. Boxing Club, and I'm excited to bring you yet another fire guest, episode 163. But before we jump into our interview with our guest, call to action. Ladies and gentlemen, you know this is an agreement between me and you and you and me. We're not really friends if you don't do this, and I'm not really your podcast host if you don't do this. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and follow us on all platforms at Voices of Value Podcast. But please make sure you prioritize YouTube. We're trying to grow our YouTube channel. We're trying to get these clips up. We're trying to make sure more people are engaging in the comment section. So please like, comment, share with a friend, as that is the only way we can grow. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump into local business news. First and foremost, one of our past podcast guests, Joshua Lewis of UpDown, the UpDown app, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, just raised $3 million from a ex-Chiefs player by the name of, I'm not going to lie, I didn't know this Chiefs player, so now I got to go watch his highlights, but former Chiefs linebacker by the name of Desmond Moses gave a $3 million investment to Joshua Lewis, who is also the founder of Ken Seltzer, which a lot of you guys have been seeing at the local clubs and bars in the Kansas City, Missouri area. So make sure you guys check that out. Also, ladies and gentlemen, KU Business School. If any of you guys went to KU Business School, you might already know this information, but an anonymous donor gave 50 or 500 $50 million commitment to KU School of Business. So all the KU School of Business students just got a re-up on investment in their education. They don't want to release who it was, or I guess the donor didn't want people to know who he was, he or she, I guess I should say. But a $50 million anonymous donation to KU Business School. So shout out to them. So that was local business news, and now in the rest of the world, something crazy that I saw the other day was Princess Diana, not any Princess Diana that's alive right now, Princess Diana from back in the days that passed away. If you guys know of Sotheby's or however you pronounce that, it is a auction site where they sell some of the most luxurious or artifact heavy or historical pieces for lots of money. And this legendary sweater that Princess Diana used to wear, featuring a black sheep among rows of white ones, sold for $1.14 million at an auction in New York City at Sotheby's the other day, which in my head is kind of crazy. Who buys a $1.14 million sweater? But listen, to each their own, and I guess historical facts matter. But if I bought that, I'd probably like put it up in the back of this podcast right here, have it hanging from the rafters or something. It's like a slight flex. I guess it's like having a Gucci t-shirt, having a Princess Diana sweater in your crib that you bought for $1.14 million. I guess it's a slight flex, but to each their own. Now, the real rest of the world business news that's actually interesting is there's a company by the name of AMP, and what they do is they utilize AI, so artificial intelligence, for those of you who don't know what AI is, and if you don't know what that is, you're dumb, but AI technology to create sound, like, what do they call it? Sonic DNA, so the sound behind brands, so McDonald's, who else? Polo, Versace, all these big companies that are world-renowned companies have a sound identity, a sound where when you hear it, you think of that company, right? And this company, AMP, utilizes AI software plus in-house composers to create sounds basically from, da-da-da-da-da is McDonald's, right? So now they take that da-da-da-da-da sound and utilize AI to create like hundreds of other offshoots of that sound that still match that sound identity to kind of input onto their TikTok. Maybe a McDouble pops up on your screen, and then a sound of a boosh comes in, but somehow that sound was pulled from the dot sound. So anyways, thought it was pretty badass. Sonic DNA, something to look into if you're a business owner out there creating a business. Make sure you pay attention to not only the visual, not only the image, not only the way you sound and talk, but the general sounds that people are going to relate and tie back into your business. Anyways, that is local and world news for you guys for this week. Now, let's jump into our podcast interview with our guest, Florida Boy Al. Welcome to the show, brother. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Jacob Lucius. I go by Florida Boy Al. I'm originally from Miami, Florida. And I own a janitorial cleaning company. I'm also in the process of helping people build out their systems and processes in their business, because I feel like at some point I was hustling, then once you start playing with the big dogs, if you don't got that in place, everything gonna fall apart.
Yes, sir. And you started it off perfect, because I've been confused for like 3 years of following you, my boy. First off, I never knew what your name was. Let's start there.
A lot of people
I didn't know
don't.
your name for 3 years. I didn't know your name. I'm over here like I'm assuming his name is Al, so I got you saved in my phone as Al. Parentheses, we winning now.
Yeah,
and that's how.
Oh yeah, I also have that too.
Do.
Where it's called We Winning Now Association, where we teach people how to be it before they become it. So yeah, we'll kind of get into that, I guess.
We sure will.
And tell people how it started, where it come from.
Hell yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, you see on his shirt Kansas City, but like he said, he's from Miami, Florida. So please talk to me about that transition from Miami to Kansas City. How did that happen? What's the tie-in? When was it? What age were you? Like, let's dive into like your childhood and kind of transition little by little into, your adulthood here in Kansas City. So let's start there.
Not to be long about growing up. My dad, he owned a trucking company till I was like 4 years old. And then him and my mom got a divorce or whatever, and so he sold off the company. So I didn't have my dad in my life till I was probably like graduating high school and stuff like that. Man, I love to open up about like trauma and stuff on this show too, if we can. Cause man, it plays a big part in being a successful entrepreneur. Like, you really have to heal from a lot of stuff. But going back, Miami, Florida, it was kind of rough growing up. Man, I was robbing, stealing cars and all of that. Right now, I would probably be locked up. I'm on probation. I wouldn't be up here right now because I have my mom. One day, I had my friends they was in a stolen car, and they was like, hey, let's go to the mall. And my mom, for some reason that day, she was like, I'm not letting you go. And so I wanted to go so bad. And the next thing you know, they ended up on a high-speed chase.
Oh, man.
On the news, and I would have been with them. And they just got off probation in 2022.
Last year.
That's crazy. But fast forward, I was never the smartest. All of my friends were always more gifted than me, but I always knew I had something special. I would always tell myself I wanted more. So I would work hard. I would just always try to find mentors in high school. That's where the father figure came from, having mentors. And then played football, went off to school at Waldorf University in Iowa. That was a culture shock for me.
It sure was. And you're coming from Florida at that point. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. And you have people that never seen black people before. So having some of those conversations, the beautiful thing about it is that a lot of them were open to like getting to know who you were. But a lot of them will say like, no offense, but I didn't know like there was this side of that, because from what they see on TV all the time, which makes sense, is understandable. And then I had a close friend that went to school out here. He studied at International House of Prayer University. Well, the school, you know the church?
I do. I'm familiar. Yeah.
So I came out here to visit him, and I went to their conference, and then so happened I was at Walmart, and I met the head coach at Avila there, and then we stayed connected, and his spirit was just real genuine, bro. So I said, and I want to come out here, and I redshirted. Then, long story short, I ended up homeless. And he resigned because of some situations that happened with him. And then the new head coach, he said this to me. He said, hey, why don't you go file for unemployment? And I already had like issues with coaches. I always felt like it was about like, they never cared about your soul and your spirit and your mental. So that's why I even came out here, because that coach, that's what he cared about. Like, I've never had a coach text me on Christmas, New Year's, or just throughout the week, just checking to see how I'm doing, like, mentally. So that's what really made me want to come. But when that transition happened, he said that, and I was like, man, I'm not playing for you. And y'all can look me up too. I was really like that.
What position did you play?
I played strong safety.
Strong safety. Okay.
Yeah,
so let's dial it back real quick, and then we'll come right back to where you just finished right there. So you grow up in Miami, Florida. Split household. Not much of a father figure in your life for quite a while. Come high school, you start, seeking out mentors, whether that's through coaches. Well, it sounds like it probably wasn't, because the Avila coach was your first coach that you really admire. But whether that's through coaches or business owners or local people that you just looked up to, and it kind of helped you, put a little bit of a head on your shoulders, based off your surroundings. It sounded like your environment around you was not the best environment, so you were like, let me get out of here. Football was your way to get out of here. You go to the middle of nowhere, flyover states America, like they like to call it. A lot of individuals who've never seen black people in their life before, never met black people from the South, which is a whole new type of black people too, by the way. In a good way, of course, but different culture, different way of speaking, and definitely a lot of tie-ins to the history of America and its history with black people for sure. So from there, you come down to visit a good friend of yours here in Kansas City, Missouri, the town. Decide you want to stay here because you met the Avila head coach, and he was a good-spirited person.
Yeah.
Ended up not working out for you because he left. New coach wasn't a vibe. You end up homeless. Let's start from there. Homeless. How did we get there? And I know oftentimes following you on Instagram the past few years, you've mentioned, the experiences, or like you said, which we can dive into, the trauma of your past and how that's influenced your spirit today, and how you're able to impact people, and how you're able to impact people in your business. I know you just came from a meeting with some of your employees, so I know it's very relevant. So let's talk about how you ended up in that situation and how you found your way out of it.
Man. So how I ended up, I had roommates, a very toxic environment, a lot of toxic masculinity going on. They would always get into arguments and start pulling guns out on each other. So I saw out in the lease once the police reports and stuff, and I just told them I didn't feel safe. And I thought it would be easy to go and apply for housing, but I never was mentored in that area. My mom never taught me how to do it. And when I went to go try to apply for apartments, I didn't make enough. And nobody was hiring at the time. This is like prior COVID. This is going into the summer. So nobody had no job openings, because all the college kids came back in high school. They had the extra work they needed. Yeah. And then being homeless, I used to work for this company called College Hunks, moving company. Yeah, familiar. Everybody know what that is out here. And man, every day on my way to work, I would listen to this video by Bishop T.D. Jakes, and then he would start off and say, don't you give up on your dreams. Don't you do it, don't you do it. Even while that's where everything switched for me. Like, I stopped trying to please people. I stopped trying to live for other people. I'm going to live for myself. Because a lot of people turned their back on me, man. Like, it was so weird. Like, people that I didn't even know, who I opened up about being homeless to, like, opened their homes to me, but I just didn't take it. The biggest thing I did, I also listened to Eric Thomas too, is I didn't run from the problem. I stayed. Like, a lot of people call me crazy for doing it, but I stayed. I didn't want to go back home and put that burden on my mom. Yeah, so I got out of it basically by working through it. Positive mindset. That video every day, man. Some days I would cry listening to it, but it hit every day. Every day, bro.
And what'd you learn from that specifically in terms of, I know sometimes we do these what I like to call necessary actions that we don't realize are necessary in the moment, but are the reason or are the catalyst we're able to take our life to the next, to the next level, or push through a certain level of pain, or allow ourselves to be vulnerable. So not to speak or try to put any words in your mouth. So I'd love for you to share, like, watching that video every day, plugging yourself into, uplifting content, uplifting messages. What did that teach you? And maybe how does it apply to, who you are today, and how you share your new message with people you're coming across with We Winning now, when you're running into people and you're sharing the message. But yeah, go ahead. So
kind of like what I said earlier, We Winning now, you got to be it before you become it. Before I became the person I am today, I was that person when I was homeless. Every day, like, he was just like, don't give up on your dreams. Like, everybody felt it. Every champion, every winner, every warrior, every lion has felt it, like they want to give up. So it would hit different every day, but one day it hit to where it's like, and you can't give up. Everybody done felt it. Everybody was in a situation. It may not have been as worse as yours, but what you gonna take from this situation? How you gonna? And so every day, man, I would show up. And that's why I don't have a problem getting up at 3 a.m. sometimes. You'll see all of that, because it's like, hey, I have a dream no matter what time. Also, I would pray in my car. That's why I wake up so early too, man. A lot of people don't know, like, in that car it would be long nights, and call me crazy, but one night there was a deer looking dead in the car, just looking at me. That was a moment. Yeah. No, for real.
Hey, man, I didn't mean to laugh. I was like, word.
For real though, a deer did, but it was probably like a scary moment. But nah, man, seriously. So I just learned, man, to not lose sight of the vision. Like constantly speaking to myself, telling myself, hey, you are gonna accomplish what you are gonna be successful. You are gonna be able to provide for your family one day.
How'd you know to look up those videos though? Like, have you always been listening to TD Jakes back in the day, like before you even came out to Iowa? Like, how did you know that I need to listen to this content right now? Were you just in so much pain that you like, damn, I need to find some shit because I don't know what am I supposed to do? So YouTube motivational content and put it in, and you're like, ooh, this is hidden. Or was TD Jakes, E.T. the hip hop preacher, these other inspirational speakers, Tony Robbins, were these people a part of your life at 13, 14 already, and you just re-implemented it once you started going through tough times again? I guess, like, how did you know?
Man,
I should go listen to
I
this.
had mentors, and when I go back to saying, like, I felt like everybody turned their back, they did. Like, mentors who I thought was going to be there, they weren't there. So what I also took from it was like, hey, nobody going to save you but yourself. Nobody could get me out of the situation but myself. But a mentor will always mention, like, oh, when I have a tough time, I will go listen to this guy, TD Jakes, Eric Thomas and stuff. And I was like, man, let me just go search them up real quick. And that's what happened. And that day, bruh, it was just like that video just popped up and it randomly was playing.
You still watch that to this day?
Oh, yeah. Like every now and then. And then sometimes I still sleep in the same place where I slept in my car at when I feel like I'm not hungry enough.
Say that again. What do you do?
Sometimes I still sleep in my car at the same place when I feel like I'm not hungry enough. Like, yeah, bro, we when you touching something that you like, that your family never even touched before, bro, you kind of be like, get comfortable. Like, I feel like but no, it's not enough when you realize this ain't gonna take care of what I'm trying to do or change the world. I want to.
It doesn't. The work that you putting in this moment, those moments where you get comfortable, you're like, hey, I've reached this level, but if I stay here, I'm not going to actually create the impact that I really like envision. I love that. And here shortly, we're going to dive into that vision, that grand vision that you have, when you die, what do you want to see, when you look back. But before we do that, got to get into the name Florida Boy Al, man. Look, so I know you from Florida, boy. Yeah. I know you from Florida, boy. I didn't mean to call you boy. Damn, I'm over here fucking up. I know you from Florida. But Al, because I thought you was going to say your name is Al. Then you said, you know what's messed up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm going to look you right in the camera, too. I done forgot brother's name already, but I think he said Jacob Johnson.
Jacob Lucius.
Jacob Lucius. Yeah. That's a real name.
My last name is French last name. So, fun fact, I'm on my dad's side, he's Dominican and Haitian.
Ooh, okay, so I was right. Can you see me mouth Haitian? Hey, zoom in on my mouth for that. That was crazy. Pause. That sounded crazy. Anyways, but I was about to say, okay, Haitian, Creole, a little Creole, a little
French. I know French. A little bit more French than Creole.
Okay,
so
vibes.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Jacob. Come up here too.
Okay. He on that.
That's when you say je m'appelle and then you say your name.
Yeah, he said, because I know you don't know what to say. But nah, so Al, where does the Al part of that come from? And then, we got to dive into that music, man. As I was doing that research, I actually never knew you were an artist, or still, you still might be, but I never knew you were an artist. And there's a few things I want to point out from that time period in your life. But before we get there, Al, where does that come from? How'd you come up with that nickname or that side of you?
When I was in college, my grandmother, she passed away back in 2017. And I would find and this is also how I got my cleaning company name too. I would find myself cleaning and doing stuff that I would do that I was doing younger with her, and it was therapeutic for me. But I started the brand before it was We Win It Now. It was Christian Breadwinners. I was a huge Kevin Gates fan or whatever. But I love the whole breadwinner, and I was like, why can't Christians be breadwinners? I had this whole story where it was like, I grew up and I thought it was bad for a Christian to have money. I always thought it was evil. So I was like, let me make this brand like Christian breadwinners. It's okay to have money. It's okay for you to be successful. It's what your heart is like. So my grandmother, she will always play this song Saturday mornings, bro. It was by a guy named Al Wilson, and the song was called Show and Tell. And beautiful song, and I would always dance to it. And I was like, that's what I'm gonna call myself, Al. Yeah. So that's where I got it from.
So say the song again, because, if we can, we might have to cue like 4 seconds of that in the background of this podcast. But what's the name of that song?
It's called Al Wilson, and the name of the song is Show and Tell.
Show and Tell. Okay. Yeah. Okay, vibes. And so when did hip-hop become a part of your life? And I'm sure it's probably early, but when did hip-hop become a part of your life from a perspective of, hey, I might consider becoming an artist, like a rapper, and start writing and start singing? Because when I listened to your music, it wasn't just you spitting straight hard bars. You got a little melody going on. Probably sounds like you mixed a little bit of what your grandma was playing in with a little bit of hip-hop. So talk to me about that part of your life. Right now, it looks like you're a business owner. You are a master of ceremonies. You are a lover and a fighter, and you show that in your energy every day online, and lift people up. And I love that. And I'm not saying hip hop artists can't do that, but it seems like that was a past part of your life. So talk a little bit about that.
So the chapter of music, man, it was very therapeutic for me, bro. Like being able to really, and I connected with people genuinely. So I think that's why I really gravitated towards music. And I was also gifted. Like one day I was just randomly, I had a guy by the name of Grizzole at the time. He makes music out here. And this is how I met my close friend Will. But long story short, I was just randomly saying. And then he was like, hey, bro, I need you to come to the studio. And bro, just try to lay something down for me, bro. I got an open verse. And bro, when I went in, I just freestyled, did whatever, and Will fixed it up a little bit, and he's like, hey, change this to that, and bro, it went crazy. Like,
how did that feel in that moment?
It felt good.
I'm assuming that's the first time you heard yourself recording. Okay.
Yeah, it felt good. Then after that, I was just saying dumb songs. Like, it just wasn't making sense. Like, it wasn't who I was or anything like that. And then that's when I found myself and I found the niche, and it was like,
and what was that?
I fell in love with it. Expressing myself in the way of like what I was doing in my life. Like I found how to like put me in music. Like it was like I was trying to be like other people and other things, but I found myself. So yeah.
It's like when we sit around the table and we like play freestyle with the homies, and, and when we play freestyle, we typically just pick up off the energy we typically hear in the songs that we, blah blah blah. Seen a baddie on the road and then I caught that.
Yeah, now you go back.
Shot a buddy in the head, now you fall back. And you're like, wait, you like I ain't trying to do that. And so is that what you kind of mean? Like you were finding yourself making music that really wasn't true to your heart? It might be the environment you grew up around, but it may not necessarily match with who you wanted to become or what you wanted to portray. Is that what you're saying? Okay. And the reason I dialed in on that is because one of the YouTube videos you posted, it was a little vlog of you hitting a studio session. And you were like, hey, man, you looked at the camera, you said, no more gangster music. We talking about love, feelings, emotions, and trauma now.
Yeah.
So, and you've mentioned a few things being therapeutic for you. Do you have a therapist?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, they actually not too far from here.
How's that been?
It's been very beautiful, man. I've been in therapy 3 times. Cause this is how I feel like you should only be there for a period of time and apply what you learn from those sessions. So yeah, that's what I feel like. Like I don't feel like you have to be in there for a whole year and do it. So I be on and off because I really want to apply what I'm learning in therapy.
And was there ever a point in your life where you felt like that wasn't manly or that wasn't the masculine thing to do? Or you feel like you've always felt comfortable with like being emotionally vulnerable no matter what. And you were kind of like always down for that. I know definitely in our community, and I don't even want to say only our community, really just men in general, find it difficult to be vulnerable or say it's okay to. So were you always like, hey, look, shit, if I can afford it, or my insurance got it, then say less, I'm in there? Or did you have to work up to that?
I was the opposite. My mom, she taught me how to. My mom was very different. When I got in trouble in school, it started to change in 10th grade. I got in trouble. I did something dumb. She said, like, why did you do that? And that was the first time I ever, like, expressed myself and told her why I did it. And she understood. You know, she was like, okay, that makes sense. Like, but that's not something you need to be doing in this environment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it really taught me how to become a realist, I would say. But yeah, going back to therapy, like, I would say I was over emotional. Like, I would over express myself. And I feel like that can be overwhelming to some people.
In what settings? Is this like in relationships, like significant others?
Yeah. Friends, you know, business partners, all of that. I was very over emotional. Understanding, like, bro, you could just say it one time and they get it. And if they don't get it, hey, look, we'll have another conversation. But it ain't nothing where you gotta keep repeating yourself. So I was over emotional, or dramatic about it. Yeah.
Have you found it challenging? Because I feel like when we start to connect with ourselves internally, when we start to tap into the visions we have for ourselves in the future, when we start to connect with ourselves again emotionally, sometimes it becomes hard to like connect with those around us who aren't doing that. Have you had to release friends, change friend groups, anything like that in your adult life? And what has that been like? Or have you been able to find a community early on, you know, in your 20s that you can rock with and talk to, and they're also grinding and trying to build businesses and trying to create impact? What has that been like for you?
I do have a community, but all of my best friends, they dead or in jail. Like, I ain't lying. I got a friend right now doing 41 years for a murder he don't want to say that he didn't do, which I think is like crazy because a person is supposed to be his best friend. But anyways, I do have a community, my mentors and stuff like that. Yeah. So with us, we kind of have like meetings every month and talk to each other about what it is that we going through and what goals we trying to reach. Because I feel like for people like me and like you, the place that we trying to get to, you operate on a high level. So the people that you keep around you and the company that you keep is very important. So with people that don't get it, I don't necessarily cut them off. I just distance myself. And when they ready, like, we still spend time, but I know you're a time and a place for certain things. Like, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, if that makes sense.
No, it does. It does. If someone was to say, yo, I feel like you're hurting right now, what would you say? Like, let me say it again. Like, if someone looks at you, you're in the middle of a mall, right? They're just looking at you. And they're like, you know, I feel like you're feeling some type of pain right now. You're feeling some type of hurt. What would your response to that individual be?
I don't know. Like, why do you feel that way? Am I projecting that?
Yeah, no, you're not projecting it. I think a lot of people who tend to have the information and the desire to want to change others felt something or feel something deeply that they got to work through every day, and they understand how powerful it is to have the correct mind. Let me not say correct, but a strong mindset, a strong formula, a strong foundation to work from. And so now you want to give that like that skill set to others. That's how I look at We Winning now. When I see the content you post, when I see your stories every day, I'm like, he went through something.
Yeah.
He went through something. He learned how to handle himself and push himself through that while still feeling that emotion and feeling that pain.
Yeah.
But he learned how to manage that so it didn't drown him. You know what I'm saying?
So can I recommend a book to people. It's called A Power Now. When I tell people to read it, don't read it like you're just reading a book. Read it and do the exercises. Like, so there's a part in the book where it says, the next time you get hurt by something, I want you to think and ask yourself why it made me feel this way. And if you read past that, you'll never heal. The book won't help you. So stop and do the exercises that it's telling you to do. Like I would stop and apply it to my life. And man, in just that small time frame, like a lot of stuff, I used to be like, dang, like, oh, so that's why I'm being triggered. That's really me being triggered by something. This person really not doing nothing wrong. And I would try to express it to that person or whatever. So yeah.
In recent memory, when's the last time you were triggered and you caught yourself?
Let me see. To
Without sharing names and stuff like that.
To get a little deep, I'm gonna put my mom out there. Something that I say. Can I say something that I healed from?
Yes,
that
sir.
I was struggling with my workers.
Absolutely.
My mom growing up, we just had a conversation about a year and a half ago. My mom did something that was like, I felt like was betrayal. Like, my stepdad at the time, she bought him a truck with her taxes, and I was like, damn, man, we need shoes, we need all this. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how you buy him a truck? And then so they ended up not working out, so it made me hurt even worse. And so I finally gained the courage to have a conversation with my mom, and she was like, well, I got him the truck because I thought it would be better to have 2 incomes than one. So I thought maybe if he got that, he would be able to get to work, do what he got to do. And then now I was like, okay, that made sense. But for me, it made me like have a control issue with people. Like, I don't feel like you're going to make the right decision, so let me do it before I got understanding. You know what I'm saying? So, like, with me, I have a janitorial cleaning company, and I would find myself, when people would complain about stuff, I would just go do it. Rather than like, okay, that's not how you do it. That's because I had a control issue. So let me stop and let me train this person and show them how to do it. And so now that would stop the problems.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love that. I love that. And I think that is a great lesson, a great learning, and also gives us the opportunity to transition into talking about your business. So we went from athlete, 9 to 5 hustling, get yourself out of a situation, artist. Then from my point of view, since I started following you, to a motivational speaker, business owner, and an individual who just brings love and light to the world. So let's talk about, when did entrepreneurship become a reality for you, or something where you were like, this is what I got to do? And what was your first business idea? Or let's say the first business you took action on. And it might be this one. And if it is, dive deep.
It probably, I would say, music. I would say music was the first business.
Okay, I respect that.
But once I started to really understand business, the ROI was too much. What you had to invest in it and the chances of you making it was like,
break that down, because I can guarantee you there's some artists listening, especially from the town right now. I don't mean break that down from why they should not do it, but how you looked at it. That's all. Just your perspective.
Business standpoint. So the way I calculate it is, you got to look at it like this. With music, there's no big dog and there's no little dog. Like, you're competing with the big dogs. Like in the janitorial world, you have other small companies that you're competing with, but you also have bigger competitors that they probably don't touch the same thing you would. And that's a whole different ballgame. Whereas with music, everybody only has one phone. So with that, you have to understand the market. Major artists, they're dropping about 30-something songs a year. And then they doing like X amount of videos, X amount of podcasts and stuff, and you have to pay to get on this stuff. So the budget that I came up with, and this was a low-end budget, was $10,000. And that was without marketing. That was just studio time. That was like music videos. That was getting on the road, traveling, and doing all of that. And yeah, so for me, and then you still probably wouldn't get, you probably trial and error. Okay, now we got to do something different because this not working. Yeah. And that's a lot of money to be throwing down the drain. And right now, I could probably help an artist for real though. Because I know how to go get investors and stuff to invest in your business. I never understood this when people said other people's money. Oh my goodness, that's a game changer when you figure it out.
Real estate individuals love saying that, but they got game behind it, and it doesn't only apply there. But I want to dive into that. Yes, what do you? Would you say that you just feel like after you ran the numbers and you was like, all right, 10 bands is something I could manage, but that's still like the percentage that I like, if I'm looking at how many artists blow a year, if I'm looking at how much money I might make from doing that, like it's just not, there was no wow factor. And then your passion for the music, would you say it wasn't strong enough to overpower that straight up reality?
I have passion for music.
The reason I say that is because I feel like a lot of artists will be like 30 bands in and still got 100 followers, still got 100 listeners on Spotify. And look, that's progress. God bless. And, amazing. But they 30,000 in the drain. You dig what I'm saying? And they keep doing it. And they keep doing it. And they keep doing it.
They don't study enough. They don't study the game. I study even janitorial. I study, bro. And it wasn't that I didn't think that, bro. Let me say this. I feel like anything I touch turn to gold. Like, especially if I do business with people, whatever, anything that I feel like I could have made it in anything. And that's not me being arrogant or cocky or anything. Like, I just feel like that. But at the same time with that I felt like that journey, if you wanted to do it the right way, from what I studied, is longer. And so I needed something to... Okay, the rollover investment wasn't. You
need something to pay rent soon.
Yeah. And music wasn't the thing that I was.
I respect that. I respect that. So let's start at day one. When it comes to, first off, what's the name of your business?
Al's KC Cleaning Services. We're changing it to Al's Facility Solutions now.
I love that. You have a website?
It's alskccleaning.com.
Instagram.
But we in the works of. We about to start playing with the big dogs. So everything is getting reconstructed right now.
I love that.
Hold on, let me say this. Bro, if y'all want to know who the real thugs are, they in the corporate world, bro. I swear. People who got money. And they don't, all that yelling and all of that, talking shit, they don't do that. They got lawyers, big dogs that come in handy. I've been through a couple of them.
Hey, Jay-Z talks about this a lot. When we want to dial in music and business and big dogs and understanding what it really look like.
Yeah.
Jay-Z, just go listen to some songs, go listen to some albums. Nipsey, both of them will educate you real quick of what it looks like to really, be a certified stepper in this world.
Man.
You know what I'm saying?
And if you're not healed from that childhood stuff and you get triggered, that's when you lost. That's why I say it's like a healing journey, bro.
I love that. I love that. But yes, let's start at zero. So you come up with this business idea. How? Why did you choose the cleaning services industry? Who put you on game? Was it a YouTube video? Was it a mentor? How did that interest in that space start? And then let's start on where did your first dollar come from? Was it cleaning a house, an apartment, where you by yourself or your team? Let's start there.
So my grandmother, like I said, when I was in college, my grandmother passed away in 2017. I would find cleaning dorm rooms very therapeutic for me. And then once I moved out here, I got a mentor by the name of George Williams. He owns William Financial Group. And I would randomly clean his office just to give back in a way. And so one day he was just like, hey, why not make this into a legit company? I know a couple of other people that need their office space cleaned. So, hey, and then we went from there, and that's how we grew. And then, but my first dollar was with a guy was with a church, but another story that I want to touch on was Ranch March Wines and Spirits, Walter. He was my first client, and he was the first person that had faith in me. I didn't have no insurance, no nothing, and I messed up his floors. And instead of him making me pay him, he just made me work it off. And then to this day, he doesn't pay for cleaning from us. So, yeah, like if he ever needed his house clean, his whatever space clean, I don't charge him.
Because he gave you an opportunity.
Yeah.
And you respect that and you pay your respect. I love that.
Sure.
I think I love the fact that it started from a therapeutic perspective. I think that's kind of like a macro theme of this podcast at this point is, looking at what makes you feel good, what gives you a sense of relief, and then figuring out how to, I don't know if this is the right word, but how to exploit that for your benefit as an individual. So let me make sure I got it correct. You found it therapeutic. You were cleaning dorm rooms. You had a mentor. You started cleaning his office for free, just as you were like as a thank you, but also because you found it to be therapeutic. And then, like most mentors do, hey man, look, you're kind of good at this. Seems like you like it. Yeah. How about you step into this full fledged? And you're like, why not? All right. So, and then your first client, you just shared that story. Yeah. When did you like know, hey, I'm gonna just keep going and I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna take it to the next level? Did you know immediately? You're like, hey, I'm just gonna lock in and go all in on this? I know a lot of people will start a business, you know, and they're like, let me test the waters. Yeah. I don't feel like you're testing the waters anymore. I feel like you're all in. So when did that happen?
Man, when I saw my first $13,000 in a month, and I'm trying to, that's not even no money for real now, but compared to what we doing, but yeah. When I was cleaning by myself, and I was like, ooh.
You did that by yourself in a month. And you were like, oh, now I got to build out a team.
But the crazy part about it is I didn't see that check till like 5-6 months. And I figured it out, the systems and processes. Our invoices had the wrong address.
Oh, wow.
Like my car, long story short, my car got repoed, all of that, bro, because I didn't pay my car note because I had just quit my job or whatever.
Oh, man.
And bro, it was crazy. It's crazy.
Oh, man.
Yeah. It was hard, but we stayed, but I stuck through because I was like, 13,000? Bro, I could repeat this, figure out how to do it, and
yeah. So so you see 13 bands, you're like, even though you didn't see it for 5-6 months, systems and processes, ladies and gentlemen, systems and processes. But even though you didn't see it immediately, you were like, I can do it. It was kind of like, ooh, I can do this. Yep. And anything above 5 bands a month sound amazing to people who work a 9 to 5. Trust and believe. You know what I'm saying? At least, you know, individual. If you're not in corporate world and seeing more than 5 bands a month, typically, right? You know what I'm saying? And so you saw that. Were you immediately like, damn, I need to figure out how to build out a team and get more people involved in this so I can double that? Because you can only do so much work as one individual. So talk about how you started thinking about employees. Talk about how you started thinking about scaling, I guess you could say, the business.
So when my car got repoed, I had to figure out how to clean these accounts. So what I did was I hired some friends, parents and stuff. It was like right on time, and then I took a chance. I didn't know if I was going to be able to pay them folks. And then so happened that check came. And that's how it all started. For real.
Keep going. Yeah. So it all starts, like, are these like people who are working part-time?
They were 1099.
Okay, contractors.
People, well, they would just come to the building and do that. And then after that, I started, my goal with any business that I do, with anybody, janitor or whatever, I took the strategy of building relationships. So even after I saw that 13,000, I didn't grow for like a whole nother like 8 months. But the beautiful thing about building business relationships and relationships with people is that, man, when stuff started to boom, it was booming. Because, and then it's still crazy because like when you build relationships with people, so I tell you, there's a guy by the name of Doug. He's like a mentor of mine right now. What happened was I reached out to him. He's like the top property manager here in KC. He's like a senior property manager for a big company. And I finally got him on the ring, and he was like, oh, just email me that stuff over. And I'm like, nah, man, like, I don't want to do that. I said, let me take you out to lunch. And he's like, I never heard this before. He's like, how about this time, this day? And we met. I took him out, and now I don't have to pay for lunch. We've gotten so many contracts with him and stuff. It's crazy, bro. But yeah, that's how I started.
And so talk about, from networking and building relationships. I like saying building relationships. Networking has become such an overused word. And sometimes now people are just pulling up to meetings and just trying to be all in your face, ain't got shit to say, no value. They're not authentic. So when it comes to building relationships, what would you say are some, key things people need to consider? Young people who aren't used to interacting with anybody besides their friends, but want to get into business and have heard over and over again on podcast after podcast that they need to build relationships. Where do they start?
The first thing is a true leader understands that you always gonna give more than you receive. We live in a generation where people are just starting to be takers, and you're trying to figure out why stuff don't work out for you. When you get in a room with millionaires and people that really got money, they don't mind giving it away. Like, I'm not saying they going crazy with it, but like they know when they in the room with people of essence or they could get something they're just naturally givers, bro. I don't know how to put it. And I see a lot of people, like I had somebody reach out to me the other day, like trying to pick my brain on like janitorial, and like they didn't offer anything, but I spent my time and they just think like they were deserving of that time. I don't even know you. But yeah, it's not like I don't want to help you, but you'll never get help from me again.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because even me, like, bro, I only had, when I took Doug out, I only had like $25 in my account. I didn't get nothing to eat. And I just got like a cup of water.
Respect.
And I got him whatever he wanted.
Yeah.
And but the second thing is something that can help people is creating a follow-up list. I have about 25 to 50 people that I hit up throughout the month. I try to hit them at least twice. Like, hey, how you doing? Like, genuinely asking them and having conversation and just checking up on them. That will actually help, because you have to understand, when you get in with people that are like, that has a lot of motion, I'm pretty sure you get this. They what is it that I want to say? They get everybody always just coming wanting to take from them.
Mm-hmm.
So when you be authentic and you genuinely care about them, they don't have people that do that a lot of the times, because it's just people that's trying to take. So yeah, but for me, I was genuinely like that, like a person that cared. So those are the main two things I would say.
I love that. And
Yeah.
I think for some individuals out there, they really got to cultivate that energy. I think individuals like you and I, basically just from what I've seen with you, interacting with you over the past 3 years, random events, IG, seeing each other at random places, it just come natural. We just lovers. We just want to connect. We just want to interact with people. We want to show respect and love. We want to show up and be our best selves and try to, just be kind individuals and really care about what people got going on. For people who ain't like that, maybe you a extreme introvert, never spoke to anybody but your homies, don't really know how to talk, you got to cultivate it. You got to learn. And you learn by, number one, just jumping out there in the streets and getting to it. Just like trying, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just go somewhere, literally anywhere, and just try to be nice and talk to people about anything. Like literally anywhere, anybody, anything, and just get out your box and learn how to communicate with people. Because it does have to be cultivated by people it don't come natural to.
Yeah. Oh man, and it's hard too. But one thing I do want to say is, if you struggle with that, I am dropping a course at the beginning of the year on how to build business relationships, or how to build relationships in general.
Yeah.
Because I studied communications with an emphasis in interpersonal relations at UMKC and psychology.
I love it. See, this is shit we don't know, man. See, the thing about podcasts, you can only ask so many questions. There's so much to learn about you, so much to learn. But
can I ask you a question?
Yeah, please, of course.
So, bro, so like, we kind of like the same people. So, how did you, being a genuine person, learn to like set boundaries? Like, how did you do that? Like, was it hard for you, or was it like?
Yeah, I think learning how to say no can be one of the hardest things for somebody who's an extrovert or who's always trying to connect with people and show up and show love. I think for me, it became important to value my energy and understand that when I'm saying no, I'm not really saying, I think people have heard this before, so I don't mean to say something cliche, but it's real. If I say no to something, I'm saying yes to something else. Or if I say yes to something, I'm saying no to something else. So I got to be very careful about who I say yes to when they ask for my time or to come on the pod. I mean, I'll just use the podcast because it's the most relevant thing in my life. Is people are like, hey, man, I want to come on your podcast. It might be somebody nice I want to talk to, but if I say yes to them, that's saying no to somebody who only can do that same date. Or that's saying no to, time I could have been doing more outreach to guests that I really want to have on that could really create impact if I'm just saying yes to say yes. You know what I'm saying? So I think it was just valuing my energy, understanding that when I say yes to somebody and I'm not all in on it, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no.
Yeah.
I think that's all it was, is if it's not a hell yes, if my heart immediately isn't like, fuck yeah, I want to do this, or hell yeah, I want to talk to you, or hell yeah, I want to get coffee with this person, hell yeah, I want to go into business with this person. If it's not that, like off the rip, if my energy don't feel that, it's going to be one or two things. I'm going to drag it out, depending on who it is, just to show love. I don't want to hit them with a hard no immediately. So I'm like, maybe in a few weeks, maybe in a few months. Or I'm going to just be like, hey, man, it's not the right time.
So so my next question, then we could continue. You speaking on energy. Bruh, like, I want to ask you this because I don't think people understand this. when you speaking on energy and then it looks like it doesn't work out, like you may have made the wrong decision. How do you decipher that? Like, were you like, there's been times where like one of my mentors, when I first met him, the energy was off. But like, I felt like he was this type of person, and then like I came around more and I'm like, oh shoot, you're actually a dope person. I made the wrong judgment. How do you decipher that, and how do you like?
I think probably the same way you went through it. You decided to keep showing up. You knew there was something there, and I think that's what it is. If you met with somebody the first time, or you tried to reach out to somebody, you tried to connect with them, there was a reason. There was something about their energy, something about their aura, something about the work that they do, something about the value that they provide that was really standing out to you. And sometimes you got to give people a few, chances to get to know them and get comfortable. I mean, I have plenty of people on the podcast where the first 45 minutes is hard to, like, the show's not good because we didn't get to know each other and get comfortable with each other for 15 to the last 15 minutes where I'm like, man, this person kind of whack at first, but then I'm like, nah, you kind of cool, and then getting into it. So I really think it's just patience, giving people the opportunity, the benefit of the doubt, and keep showing up. And I appreciate those questions. I want to do one thing before we wrap up, because we got to make sure we keep the audience tuned in for the whole time. Sometimes you take the conversation, our short attention span, you dig. Before we sign out today, I want to ask you two questions. And one is a question I've asked almost all the guests, and I've had for over 170 episodes or so. It's your last day on earth. You're 100-something years old. You've done all the amazing things you've wanted to do in life. Your business has boomed. You've started other businesses. You've created impact. Have children. They healthy. They happy. But your great-great-grandchildren sitting at your feet right here, and they say, great-great-grandpa, what's one piece of advice on how to live a good life? This is the last thing they're going to remember for you. What you going to say?
Wherever you at in life, you on the right path. Slow and steady wins the race. That's it. Keep showing up every day. That's it. Always keep moving forward. Right over left, both feet on the floor every day.
I love that.
That's it.
I love that. The art of never quitting.
Yeah.
Final question today is, please plug our audience with where they can follow you on social media, how they can find you, but more importantly, how they can support your business or any other business endeavors. You mentioned one thing you're going to launch here at the end of the month. Please feel free to share anything else.
My socials is FloridaBoy_AL. That's on all social media platforms, Facebook, Jacob Lucius. How you can support the janitorial cleaning company is hit us up, ask us how you can get paid while we clean. We have an awesome referral program. Like, we just don't pay out a certain thing. Like, we create passive income for people. Certain contracts right now, we have certain people that are making 3 to 6% of what we make. And that's like before taxes. They get a check every month cut out to them. So that's how we do it.
And y'all know everyone that listens to this podcast likes to get money, so make sure y'all tap in. More importantly,
can I ask you a quick question?
Last question. Let's get it.
Then my last
Let's
one.
Go.
So it's kind of similar to what you said, but I be kind of like coaching people, and this is what I ask them: if you had 3 years to live, what would you want to change or impact on the world?
That's hilarious, because I was going to ask you that question today, but I didn't.
Yeah, no, man, so you.
Man, if I had 3 years to live, my impact that I'd want to have on this world is figure out a way to create actual impact in public health. We have an obesity crisis going on. We have a crazy amount of individuals that have diabetes or are damn near about to get diabetes. We have a crazy amount of individuals that are suffering from mental health. So figuring out how we can integrate movement first. You and I are both big fitness fans. Movement first into the public school systems, into our corporate world, into our work ecosystems, and figure out how we can, the simplest way to integrate wellness into the day-to-day lives of every single person on earth, including the small schools that get no funding in the middle of Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, shout out to the home country, all the way back to Kansas City to Miami. So figuring out how to create, true impact in the public health sector. I appreciate you asking that.
I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate the time today, brother. It's love. Make sure y'all follow us on all social media platforms at Voices of Value Podcast. Salute.
For sure.
Ski.